Mitt Romney there focusing on Barack Obama. Joining me now in the studio to discuss America's Republican presidential hopefuls is Associate Professor Brendan O'Connor from the United States Studies Centre. Brendan, welcome. Mitt Romney is still the man to beat.
Yes, I mean, these have been fairly good days for Mitt Romney. The new year has started. The candidates, the anti-Romney candidates, are still in some ways a bit of a shambles. One of them pops up for a couple of weeks and then scandals arise or issues from their past draw them back, or things they say or poor performances in debates. So Mitt Romney is still the man to beat, but he's not someone that Republican voters love or really warm to. He's just seen as inevitable or the best standing candidate.
Why isn't he someone that they warm to?
For a variety of reasons. He has a bit of the Al Gore problem. He's not seen as very authentic. He's seen as trying too hard, as somewhat of a robotic, plastic character who'll change his views on any position given the circumstances. He's also a Mormon. For some evangelical Christians, that's a problem. And he's also, in Republican terms, been pretty moderate in his policy positions in the past.
So it's not only the evangelical Christians, Republican Christians, who have a problem with him?
No, I think a lot of voters think, well, this guy isn't a very authentic character. He's someone that you can't really trust. He's someone who might say one thing one week and then move to another position later in the election.
Are there clear policy differences between the Republican candidates?
Well, there's a group of candidates, Michelle Bachmann, Rick Santorum, Rick Perry, who want to present themselves as hardline social conservatives, people who take a very hard line on gay marriage, on homosexual rights, who very much associate with the Christian conservative movement in Iowa. Then there's probably this Ron Paul candidate who's been around for quite some time, who's very much an anti-government candidate, a libertarian, wants to see America reduce its activities overseas, reduce its federal deficit, reduce its government.
And he's got a bit of a kick in the polls in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's got quite an organisation, because I suppose out of the Iraq War, a lot of people started following him, saying this guy's saying America should draw back from foreign adventures. He got quite a following for that. And then his positions about being against the Department of Education, the Federal Reserve, they're a bit unusual in some regards in Republican circles to be against all forms of government to that extreme. But he has a cult following.
Is he seen as a serious contender, though? When it comes down to it, is he the man who's going to get the nomination?
No, he's not going to get the nomination, but he's going to cause problems, I think, because a lot of attention will focus on him. And some of his issues about foreign policy isolationism might be adopted to a degree to placate his supporters to some extent.
So will Mitt Romney end up winning this? Is that clear as far as you can tell?
Well, Mitt Romney is someone that, you know, no one can sort of say will guarantee to win. He's likely to come in the top 3 in Iowa. He may even win in Iowa. He'll win in, I think, New Hampshire in a week's time on January 10. And it will look like he's got the momentum. But I suppose this, the rise of Rick Santorum is, I suppose, an interesting sort of final hour suggestion that the hardline conservatives in the Republican Party really want someone else, and they'll be willing to try everyone else until they eventually maybe find someone.
Yeah. So just explain for us how this works, because there's nothing like it in Australia in terms of the members of the public being involved in the voting for the people who end up being the party nominees.
The Iowa caucuses are an incredible bit of political theatre, really. I mean, they don't actually count for the nomination. There's about 1,000 or more events across Iowa held in people's houses, held in churches, held in schools, and people divide into groups across a room for whatever candidate they believe in, and the smallest groups are eliminated and the people from those groups move into the larger groups. It's a bit of, I suppose, old sort of town hall style politics, and it only matters because it gets an enormous amount of media attention and gives someone who wins it, or someone who exceeds expectations, that's the key thing, it gives them some publicity.
Is it only Republican Party members who are able to vote in these?
Yes, I mean, in the United States, when you enrol to vote, you enrol as 3 things: as a Republican, a Democrat, or as an independent. So a lot of people are enrolled as Republicans. It doesn't mean they turn up to brunch meetings on a weekly basis. So probably 1/3 of the population or more of Iowa has the opportunity to vote. And not all those people will turn up to go through this rather lengthy process.
So the big question is then, do any of these candidates have what it takes to beat Barack Obama?
Well, I think Mitt Romney Mitt Romney is the person I think Barack Obama would least like to face. I think he'd like to face a Newt Gingrich or a Ron Paul or even a Rick Santorum. But I think Mitt Romney is a credible candidate. He performs fairly well on the stump. He certainly looks the part. He's someone who's, I think, planned this very well. He's got a lot of money. So those are very typical things that you expect of a presidential candidate. And so I don't think the Republican side would be as enthusiastic about him at the kind of, particularly the conservative Christians in Iowa, but I think he's credible, and I think to say Obama will definitely win is to exaggerate the situation at this point.
Okay, Brendan, well, it looks like we'll be chatting to you quite frequently over the course of this year. Thanks very much.
My pleasure.